Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater, and I always catch a fair amount of crap when I talk shit about Sony. A lot of people out there are always like, "Oh, Matt, you're always on the Sony hate wagon. Why do you hate Sony so much? Why do you want to see them fail, especially when you support Disney Star Wars?" I hear that every once in a while. Let me tell you why. When it comes to a movie studio, when it comes to a movie studio's offerings, Sony, for the most part, fumbles every single time. They do, and they have for years. They brought in Tom Rothman in 2015 to take over for Amy Pascal during the whole fallout of the North Korean hack, and he hasn't gotten anything on track. He's had a couple wins, right? But like couple here and there. But he's had way more losses than he's had victories. And we've been noticing this trend. Sony just cannot compete in today's marketplace, especially in the dwindling nature that is theatrical releases. And let's be fair, let's be realistic. Most movies generally don't do that well, right? We've been seeing a massive uptick in articles about why something bombed or videos about why something bombed. I know I've done videos like that. We see this kind of thing all the time, and we see it predominantly because movies are not being made for theatrical experiences when they can be just had at home. And the truth of the matter is, more people out there would just rather wait. Going to the movies feels like more of a hassle than anything else these days, unless it's an event like a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie or an animated film or something along those lines. Something that comes across like it's an event and not just something you can sit at home and watch on Netflix or Disney Plus or Hulu or Amazon or whatever. And that is why so many of these companies are going streaming, because they know that the writing is on the wall, and Sony's writing is very much on the wall. I don't say that lightly. I don't say that with any kind of joy. I would rather them turn things around, but it doesn't look like they are. Now it says here, Sony Pictures quarter 3 profits hits 51 million in 50% decrease from 2018. Now, you got to remember, in 2016, they wrote down $980 million in losses from the previous year. That was the start of the end for Sony, in my opinion. It says here, Sony Pictures Entertainment has recorded a $51 million profit for the third quarter ending December 31st, 2019. This is down 50% from the 102 million quarter 3 profit saw from the comparable end of 2018, which had benefited from the global success of Venom. Why do you think why do you think we're going to start seeing more of these Spider-Man spin-off films? Because they've got the rights and they're popular, and if they can all pull in money like Venom, then it's all going to be profit for Sony. Now, Sony cited overall lower revenues for its theatrical films in the quarter versus 2018. Among the titles that released during that period in 2019 were the underperforming Charlie's Angels. Yeah, that bombed. However, Jumanji had been strong worldwide with 755 million to date, given that it came out mid-December. The Dwayne Johnson sequel's impact will also be felt in quarter 4. January release of Bad Boys for Life still in theaters after breaking opening records last month, and will be attributed to the next results. And the Will Smith star currently sits at 291 million. But let's talk about the Jumanji The Next Level real quick. Jumanji The Next Level came out a week before Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, whereas Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle opened a week after Star Wars The Last Jedi, and that movie went on to do $971 million worldwide. Now, I'm not going to sit there and balk at 755 million worldwide for Jumanji The Next Level, but I'm also not going to sit there and praise it as being a better sequel, because the movie still grossed over 220 or roughly 217 million less than its predecessor. That is something worth talking about. Perhaps the movie just didn't do as well. Perhaps Rise of Skywalker was better than The Last Jedi, and so people out there just went to go see that. Opening up a week before, so rather than a week after, was meant to get out of the way. But really, all things considered, they should have just pushed Jumanji further back. We know that when it comes to a lot of these movies, they get all boxed in week after week after week, and people out there are going to justify spending money on entertainment, but people out there are also, they're going to hold off now more often than not. They're going to ask themselves a question: do I need to see this in theaters? Should I just wait for home video, or wait for Netflix, or wait for streaming? It's one of the reasons why HBO Max came out today and said that what they're going to do is they're going to make 8 to 10 original films per year for HBO Max. Warner's is investing the money into HBO Max content, original content, as a way to get people to stick around. Although the price point and the access to the content at $15 an hour or $15 a month is not bad. Now, the pictures division also saw lower television and home entertainment licensing in quarter three, partially offset by higher sales of The Crown Season 3. There was no overall forecast change for the full fiscal year in the pictures arm, which is eyeing a $643 million profit. So, I mean, they're not losing money. Okay, I just want to be fair on this one. They're not losing money, but they're not really like, they're kind of, they're not doing as well as the competition. Now, it does say here that it's through March, Sony will release Blumhouse's Fantasy Island and Vin Diesel's Bloodshot. Now, I suspect Fantasy Island will do well. As much as I want to see Bloodshot, I don't know how well it's going to potentially do in theaters. I think it's a movie that's probably going to find a cult following on home video, but it all depends on whether or not Vin Diesel can put butts in seats for something that isn't Fast and Furious. And even then, how many people go see Fast and Furious for Vin Diesel? Now, at the bottom here is where things get interesting. This is where we're starting to see again that shifting that I've been calling for, by the way, because I have said that Sony should sell off Sony Pictures and Columbia Pictures to another company, cut their losses, someone who can handle film. Their television arm does pretty well. I do want to make that abundantly clear. But Sony as a whole is just fledgling right now in regards to their theatrical department. They got lucky with Spider-Man, but then again, Spider-Man was produced via Marvel and part of the MCU. So that $1 billion was almost guaranteed after Endgame. And they kept the vast, vast, vast majority of that profit. So, can we really attribute that to Sony? The answer to that is no, we cannot. And anyone out there trying to tell you otherwise, I think is trying to sell you something. Now, it says here, activist investor Daniel Loeb recently again urged Sony to continue selling off non-strategic assets, insisting that the media and entertainment businesses can stand alone. In a letter to investors last week, he commended Sony for strong returns in 2019, but said his third point needs to take a hard look at its portfolio. Yeah, they should really start looking into the process of maybe selling this off. And this is Sony in general should start potentially selling these things off. Now, I don't know who would buy it. I mean, people would argue Disney might come in, but they'd want to put up the money for the Spider-Man rights. Sony at this point pretty much is holding on to Spider-Man. That's kind of what they've got in regards to franchises. I mean, they put out the Emoji Movie, which didn't do well. The Dark Tower, which didn't do well. There was Edgar Wright's Baby Driver, which was a $30 million movie, and that did okay. And this is what they should do, is focus on smaller, genre-oriented films that can play to a certain market, that are not that expensive to produce, and then hope that one of them takes off and makes a hell of a lot of money. And that's kind of what Blumhouse does. Blumhouse puts out a bunch of films per year through different distributors. And all the budgets are like under 25 million. And the movies tend to gross all of that money back because they know how to run a production studio. They know how to run it. For some reason, Tom Rothman can't figure that out. Now, I will, again, fully admit that I have a lot of biasness against Tom Rothman for a number of reasons, one of which is how he treated Deadpool at Fox, and the other one is how he jumped on the Ghostbusters bandwagon of attacking the fans. And I haven't forgotten that. It's been 4 years, and I haven't moved on past that yet. Sorry, that's just how I am. So when I look at that, I want to see Tom Rothman out of the industry. I don't think he deserves to be there. I don't think he deserves, after attacking the fan base like that, and also completely screwing up Sony as a studio, he probably shouldn't be involved. I know. I just don't have respect for someone like Tom Rothman. Sorry, sue me. But let me quickly reiterate this point. I want Sony. I want all movies to be successful. I do. I want all movies to be successful, to find their niche, to find their audience, and to go out there and do it. The problem is that Hollywood is running on these outdated models. And it all goes back like a number of years. Like I like to go back to the summer of 2008, where there were at least two, if not three, big name movies coming out every single week. They stacked the theater. I mean, they packed it with movies all the time. And nowadays, movies come and go, and they hit home video so fast, you blink, and it's like, wait, that was in theaters, and you can already pick it up. So, and then these movies all go to streaming. Everybody just wants it to go on streaming. People would rather watch from their home, and that's why these subscription services are going to do more to get people's money, because to them it's all going to be looking at it like it's a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, which is what I feel when it comes to Sony. They should focus on having that bird in the hand, and they're not. And whoever their executives are need to probably just be fired and bring in a whole new batch of people who maybe understand where the film going audience is right now, understand what audiences are into right now, and point blank just like stop effing around, because they're just, they keep screwing it up. I know there's gonna be lots of comments. Oh, Matt, you just crapping on Sony. Yeah, I am, because I want them to do better, and I've been saying that for years. Anyway, I am curious to hear his thoughts about this one. Do you think that Sony can ever really come back? Do you think that Sony is done for? Should they sell themselves off? These are things I'm very curious to know. Let me know down in the comments below. I will talk to you guys all later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.